So, COPPA is a law that exists. You may have heard online by many creators about COPPA, or the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, and recent actions the FTC has taken to enforce COPPA on YouTube, going as far as suing the company for $170 million. The basic idea of COPPA is for websites to not collect information on anyone under the age of 13 without express permission from the parent. The reason for this is so websites are unable to go through internet histories or what you've watched to give you targeted advertisements that might suit your interests. Children aren't supposed to have this responsibility because they have a hard time telling the difference between what's an advertisement or not, and it can be seen as taking advantage of them. YouTube is able to build a portfolio of what you are, like, and do based solely on your watch history, even if you haven't told YouTube yourself. They're basically like that one creepy stalker girl at school who's always following you around, and though you've told her nothing about yourself, she's already made a shrine out of your used hair in her basement. Children aren't supposed to be that easy to prey on. Despite this, YouTube has consistently and frequently broken the law regarding COPPA. All they had to do was make a little website called YouTube Kids. I'll get into that later, but the basic idea of this lawsuit is that YouTube needs to change its ways of operation for the betterment of its users. They need to make it so that children aren't tricked into clicking on videos that seem child-friendly but turn out to not be in any way. If kids are going to be on this website, there needs to be a clear distinction between what's only made for kids and what's made for more general audiences. YouTube decided to handle their own breaking of the law in their infinite wisdom by having YouTubers on their platform suffer. I would say that I'm surprised, but really, who could be with all of the terrible decisions YouTube makes? I mean, you gotta give it to them though. You gotta blame the consumer, not the product. If someone poisons a well, it's the people who drank its fault. The way it's proposed to work is you click a box saying whether or not your videos are child-friendly, and if it is, then the video will no longer receive personalized ads. This is incredibly bad because it cuts YouTubers' ad revenue by between 60 and 90% and can have serious consequences if the form isn't filled out correctly. Many creators value monetization for their income, so if you're what the FTC deems child-friendly, you could lose a large portion of your income just like that. To put it in perspective, think if you had a $100,000 job a year, that instantly changed to $10,000. You could barely live off that. Of course, tons of people who don't want their advertisements cut are going to not click the box to keep the money they were already making. I've heard on social media and videos about this big amount of 42K being tossed around, but if you think about it for a second, that's sort of impossible to enforce for everyone. Though I can't find a definite number yet, you're going to be affected basically on how it would affect your financial situation and just how well your channel is doing in comparison to the video. Even despite that, having a fine at all for any content creator seems too frightening for anyone to want to post. Not only that, but in the original version of what counted as child-friendly, using words like cool and whatever could make it child-friendly, since you know a child can understand that basic feeling coming across. Not only that, but they also mentioned having animated characters, bright colors, or generally child-appealing thumbnails. Even music would be enough to label you as child-friendly in the eyes of the FTC during their first post. Obviously, this has major flaws that anyone can point out, and thankfully the FTC has been listening to criticism and recently put out a statement telling people fixes they'd have for the rules, but content creators are still steamed at YouTube. This may have seemed like it came out of nowhere to the average passerby, but YouTube has had this coming for a while and chose explicitly to ignore it so that they could keep on manipulating children. Allow me to explain in this video YouTube's history leading up to this moment and how it could have been prevented if they tried. Let's jump down the rabbit hole. I think all this being advertised to kids thing really started back around 2015. That's around the time things started to hit the fan. First, we need to talk about creators themselves and how they were represented in 2015. As of the past 4 years or so, we've all gotten to witness the major corporate side of YouTube and just how much Google sees YouTube and its users as another opportunity for big business and data collection to an extent. A cynical person could say the downfall of YouTube started when Google bought it back in 2006, but that really wasn't a factor until 2015. One of the signs of corporation-friendly antics was YouTube Rewind 2015. Today, we all know how incredibly shallow, marketing and focus tested driven, and generally terrible YouTube Rewind is, is, but believe it or not, it was originally created for the YouTube community. The original YouTube Rewind was dumb, that's easy to say, but it fully and only contained people who are popular or are known because of YouTube. The only celebrity on the first Rewind was Psy, who had perfect reason for being there, as Gangnam Style had become the first ever YouTube video to get over 1 billion views. I may have been young when the original Rewind came out, but I knew most of the people in it and I knew why they were there. Psy was there because he represented a major historical point for YouTube as a site. It contained only the biggest members who made the year of 2012 what it was. 2015 is where the turn began into corporate toxicity. James Corden, Stephen Colbert, T-Pain, whatever, they aren't YouTubers, but I guess they're only a few people when they are on YouTube. But then 2016 was introduced by The Rock. Why The Rock? The Rock is not a YouTuber. He might be on YouTube, but he is by no means a YouTuber. We need YouTubers to introduce YouTube Rewinds because they are made for... I don't even need to explain this. Rewind 2017 was introduced by Stephen Colbert. He went from being in the background to becoming the main guy in the beginning, along with 2 Vine stars. Singers like Marshmello, who just made a popular song, not even a milestone one, are just there, and PewDiePie, you know, the biggest guy on the platform at the time, wasn't even there because of controversy. I don't even want to talk about 2018, with Will Smith and flossing talk show hosts and a bunch of useless shit not at all related to YouTube and a bunch of geek shit taking up more space in the GameStop than the Switch section. Fuck you, GameStop! And then, during Rewind 2018, they had the gall to say this whole thing was creator-driven. It was truly around the time we said enough was enough. YouTube Rewind is a perfect yet simple view of YouTube as a company. In the beginning, it was all about the creators and what they did for the website independently, regardless of whether it was safe for kids to watch. As the years passed, more corporations and celebrities began sneaking their way into YouTube, and if controversy arose, they wouldn't hesitate to distance themselves from those creators. Rewind became a tool to show to advertisers that YouTube was ready to let all the little kids in and enjoy their ad-friendly memes. They'd include messages of tolerance and gay pride, stopping the video halfway through, while at the same time being proven to both demonetize videos with the word gay in the title and put ads of extremists arguing against being gay on videos. There's a word for that, it's called hypocrisy. There's also a word for someone who's by your side during the good times but leaves you when something gets bad. It's called a fair weather friend, and YouTube fits both of these descriptions. Speaking of hypocrisy and controversy, YouTube got into a good bit of it when they created the YouTube Kids app in, would you look at that, 2015. YouTube Kids was a simple idea that if anyone thought about for even a second, they could realize that it wouldn't work for very clear reasons. YouTube has hundreds of hours of content posted to it by the minute. Creating a version of YouTube where an AI tries to determine the best content for your child from the millions of inappropriate videos not meant for them will always have slip-ups. Trying to control it and be like Netflix where you can just talk on the phone for 20 minutes and leave your kid in the other room with it won't be able to happen because a small subsection of people will use that to their advantage. They put well-known characters on a welcoming color palette and then put some twisted or low-effort shit in there because the kids aren't going to know and their parents are none the wiser. These videos got millions upon millions of views to the point the news media was talking about it, and guess what? YouTube said they did something by creating the now infamous yellow circle, but it's still not hard at all to find those same videos getting those same views. This was the first time YouTube could have backed out and fixed their mistake. There would have been no shame in saying, alright team, we tried to make the platform for kids and it sounded good on paper. Okay, no it didn't. Actually, it's apparently illegal, but you live and learn. Round up next week, team. Deborah, let's go out for coffee. Then the guy gets shut down and the company moves on. Instead, we get piss-colored monetization for being too adult. All the little yellow symbol did was instill fear in YouTubers who are doing nothing wrong. There's always a market of people for something. Advertisers on videos try to find that something and cater to that want before the video plays. There are many videos advertisers just plain don't want to see their advertisements on, and that was YouTube's excuse for issuing the yellow icon, meaning not meant for all audiences. This would cut your ad revenue down to a trickle, and has been shown across the board to be both ineffective and biased. Videos that support a different political message or news that wasn't from certain sources would be demonetized. Not complying with Google's wishes and talking about controversial topics or being edgy in any way could do the same thing. Swearing too much is enough to get demonetized
demonetized, meaning if I chose to say goddamn dick-ass hell shits, I could lose all the money I get from this video. If my video isn't demonetized, it'll still only make half of what people who don't swear at all make, as shown by this YouTube advertising meeting. This is obviously catering to those who make more kid-friendly content, and they are telling you directly that you need to be less adult. This is the second time YouTube could have pulled out and decided, you know what? Right, our site isn't for children, so maybe we should back off of this. But of course, them being YouTube decided to go further and further down the hole. YouTube in the past year or two has also been having a sort of mass public execution of channels lately. They want to prove how good and child-friendly of a company they are by removing videos and creators who might be seen as controversial or edgy by some people or news sources. I've talked about him before, but there's really no better example of a YouTuber who did nothing wrong being removed than Mumkey Jones. Mumkey had been making videos on the internet for about 3 or 4 years under that name, and in 2018 he made it to over 300,000 on his first channel and over 200 on his second. It appeared like he was on top of the world, and many other creators were inspired by or respected Mumkey for the strides he made. That's when YouTube put a targeted hit on his channel. He was told each strike was a manual one, but he got 3 strikes on both channels on the same day, one of which was placed on a video with no views in private mode. Yeah, manually claimed my ass. This was a targeted attack. Mumkey to this day still hasn't quite recovered from the loss. He's gotten part of his audience back thanks to his newer channel, but the accomplishments he'd made on YouTube before were vanished. His original banning sent him into a depression because he'd lost his entire income and audience for no good reason. He was constantly worried about paying the bills and barely ate. This happened because YouTube wanted to appeal more to children rather than appealing to their content creators that made YouTube what it was. They could have pulled out and reinstated Mumkey and other wrongfully banned channels at this point, yet they carried on as steadfast as ever. For years now, YouTube has allowed certain popular creators to manipulate children into clicking on videos or buying merchandise from them. Jake Paul's an easy example. He constantly talks about how great his merch is and how you should buy it and get small children to wear his merch and show it off to the camera, bro. Hey kids, aren't these guys so cool? You should buy my merch, link in description. One of Jake's many dumb catchphrases is link in bio because he says it so much. Jake's a master in subliminally getting kids to buy his shit. Nerd City has an entire video on it. Ryan's Toy Reviews isn't much better. The kid is 7 or 8 years old and his channel makes over $22 million a year. That's insane, and this kid shouldn't even be on YouTube, let alone on such a large scale. All that money is going to his parents, who are doing who the hell knows with all of it. The channel itself might even be somewhat illegal, because though the mother points out at the beginning of some videos that they're advertising the toy Ryan is playing with, the 7 and under crowd isn't gonna know what that is. They're gonna see Ryan playing with the toy, and they're going to hear how great it is, and they're gonna decide to get it for themselves. This really walks a fine line, because the children who are watching these videos don't know they're being advertised to. This is one of the reasons COPPA was created in the first place, to stop this kind of advertising reaching really young children. This was the 3rd time YouTube could have decided to issue a warning to these channels, or even take them off before they got as big as they did, because, you know, 8-year-olds shouldn't be on a website that's meant for 13 and up. But why would they, honestly? YouTube 100% made bank off of all the cash flow of those channels got for them, so why should they take away something that's been able to help them so much? This entire FTC lawsuit might be changing YouTube because they legally have to now, but they still have YouTube Kids. Google can afford it, being one of the biggest companies in the world. They make hundreds of millions on the daily. This is barely gonna shake them up, and in the end, who's gonna pay? The content creators who did nothing wrong and don't deserve the scrutiny of the FTC. The rules the FTC first put out were abysmal and could have the effect of destroying entire communities. The gaming fandom has players playing games that children might want to play, and it would be easy to see them as child-friendly. This could lead to them quitting because they can't make money like they used to, or force them to play edgier games so YouTube doesn't label them as such. The Storytime community is made of a wide range of personalities, yet the document states that telling stories makes it so your video is child-friendly no matter the content if it isn't explicit about it not being for kids. I said many of the problems with the original FTC announcement were fixed in the second, but it's still incredibly vague. They thankfully say that people can make content for all audiences, whether it be gaming or stories, and they won't be called child-friendly and lose all their ads. They also say you can still be labeled if you have multiple aspects of a video that match being child-friendly, which are still really vague. Since the form is still open in its recommending stage, I personally would like to have detailed descriptions of these aspects to know exactly what they mean, an ability to refute videos marked as child-friendly, Make sure a middle section is offered for people between child-friendly and not. Don't let a bot do all the work in this kind of thing, and please make sure YouTube pays if something else happens because it is their fault. I don't hate YouTube despite what you might be led to assume by this video. It makes some of the worst decisions for a company possible, but they still give a platform to broadcast yourself, and despite all the corporation-friendly bullshit, I'd like to see them get better and think more about the creator. So YouTube, stop breaking the law. We don't want this COPPA storm to get any worse than it is. Also, if you throw us under the bus, we're just gonna come back even stronger and be ready to give you an ample push the next time something else happens. I'll leave a link below to comment on the FTC's proposal, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye. Sleep awaits me, and hopefully YouTube doesn't decide to make it so it's harder for this video to grow, because it's been shown to do that a lot of the time.